Hey, Randy Joe here, and welcome back to the channel, where today we're going to be checking out Squid's brand new LP, Cowards. Now, Squid is a post-punk band from the UK who has been killing it since their debut LP in 2021, that of course being Bright Green Field. And since then, we have seen the release of their second LP, Oh Monolith, which came out in 2023 and was one of my favorite records of that year. So at this track, we're getting a record from them every 2 years. And of course, today, they're following it up with their third LP, like I said, Cowards. Personally, I'm very excited to see what direction they're going in, as I feel like Oh Monolith was a much more unique and bold kind of direction as compared to their debut, which I did feel felt a little bit more meandering. And had more highlights than it did a concise, consistent sort of listen. That being said, even with Oh Monolith being an oppressive record, I still felt there was quite a bit of room for growth, and I do think they have a little bit more work to do before they're really kind of being name-dropped as one of the big ones to watch out for, at least when compared to their contemporaries right now in the UK scene. Still, I'm always watching out for Squid. I'm always interested in what they're doing. So kicking it off, we're going to start their LP today. 45 minutes, 9 tracks. Crispy Skin is kicking it off, the first single from this one that I did listen to upon its initial release, and I'm kind of curious to see how it's kind of grown on me, because I've only given it a couple of listens. But yeah, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. A nice shimmery open. Ooh. I still really like the glitchy vocals there. One thing I really like about their style, they did quite a bit on Oh Monolith. They got a lot of kind of sprinklings of these unique little fleeting moments that kind of come in and out, such as, like I said, those glitchy vocals, or even this kind of main sort of riff that has been covering. That kind of low bit, kind of escalating and de-escalating sound. It comes in and out. I like that kind of sprinkling of flavor. Like those vocals coming right back in, and then they fade right out. Very unique style. I really like this styling it back here. Ooh. Could be a track about cannibalism or being conditioned to enjoying cannibalism. I do think they have a much more kind of growing sound that rewards on repeated listenings. Not an initial shocker. Very kind of meditative, hypnotic delivery. A very eerie, growing, kind of menacing tone to that one. Really matches the cannibalistic kind of undertones throughout the lyrics. And I think this kind of alludes perhaps to a, sort of dictatorship society where perhaps cannibalism is the norm, because it feels like the protagonist here becomes a little bit more conditioned to enjoying his cannibalistic nature. But I think that menacing kind of slow build hypnotic kind of focus. Kind of adds to the lyricism that feels very Stockholm Syndrome-esque. Let's go into Building 650. Let's keep it going. Don't believe I've heard this one. I know it's a single, but... Oh. Getting a little Eastern here, it sounds. Kind of reminds me of that guitar work. King Gizzard's sort of microtonal forays. Again, a very menacing kind of tone to these lyrics. Here he's talking about his friend Frank, which, shout out all friends named Frank. I have a good friend named Frank, grew up with. But this praising of his friend followed by there's murder sometimes, but he's a real nice guy. Covering up the evil acts, perhaps, of a friend. Ignoring the red flags. But where's this going? Oh, these strings are coming in. It's like a journey downwards. Even a bit of a, I would say, Radiohead influence on their sound. It's like a wolf in sheep's clothing kind of track. These strings. There they are again. Like I said, these sprinkling of moments from Squid. A little dash of flavor. No true American. Frank's my friend. No true. I like this one quite a bit. Really like its, again, the eerie undertones throughout this record so far. Pretty strong and very hypnotic so far, these tracks. Here's Blood on the Boulders. With the word blood, you know. Sounds menacing once again. Fitting in those violent sort of undertones the record has. All the houses in this country. Oh. Are built like shit. Bit of a Slint-like delivery with this whispering vocal. This one quite slow and calculated. This one again, almost post-rock in its tone. Definitely reminded me of Slint in a way. Brian's ratting. Love this frantic sort of build-up. Again, this cycling sort of meditative insanity. Oh my god, I love this ramping up. Oh my goodness, the madness reaching its peak in that refrain. Here's the come down. Oh, I love that sinking right back into this. Oh, this might be my favorite track so far. This is a great track. Love the structure of the song too. That's a great track. 5 minutes, 46 seconds. And the song structure with that middle section really taking over, ramping up to its climactic peak, and then going right back into that first sort of segment to close things out. It feels very kind of epic in its sound, and kind of grand, despite the fact of being only 5 minutes. Blood on the Boulders, easily my favorite so far, at least on a first listen. Certainly jumps out the most. But here's Fieldworks 1, a two-parter. I want to say it's called a harpsichord playing there. I could be wrong. But I have to say, they have a real knack for sounding both old-fashioned and kind of futuristic and sci-fi at the same time. It's like a medieval sci-fi kind of vibe I get from some of these. This one's seeming to be a real lead-up to Fieldworks 2. This is getting a real, again, menacing tone. These strings in the background. I'll let it transition right into the next. But, oh man. It's so careful the way this all kind of... Oh. Love that transition. We're falling right into it as the lyrics suggest. Oh. I like this guitar here. Certainly feels a little bit more familiar. The warmth to it. A very cinematic kind of feel to a lot of these tracks, but this one especially feels particularly cinematic. This heaviness, like such a heavy pounding delivery. Man, I'm really Loving the growth of this record. This 3-track run especially has really hit hard, I found. And this one especially was... particularly pounding. But that guitar work is so kind of sweet, keeping you hanging on to reality. Before we continue, Fieldworks 2 was a fantastic heavy track, particularly I would say the heaviest this LP has gotten so far, but also a lot of the lyrics and even lyrics in some of the other tracks seem to really focus on a sense of kind of identity or maybe brainwashing, kind of losing yourself, especially with this outro here. I forgot what it's like, I forgot what I am, getting lost in between who I was and what I am, there's no water in the lake. It seems like there is a menacing overtone of perhaps losing yourself to maybe a greater machine. Again, just on a first listen, this kind of feels, I would say, Orwellian, like 1984 kind of vibes. Let's keep it going. Crow, Magnum Man. Very dystopian is what I'm trying to say with this. Just on a sonic level and on a lyrical level, that's what I'm getting. Love the bleeps and bloops, the like I said, very futuristic sounding tones that they work with. And it feels like they have honed it in a lot more in this album. Feels much more focused. Oh. I love that main little synth, that cute little synth in the background there. Like I said, these little tiny details make up a greater picture. Seriously, the arrangements for this track especially are quite heavy. There's a lot at play here. A lot of little kind of synth effects, a lot of guitar work, kind of buried deep in the undertone. There was that siren effect too that felt like it was kind of de-escalating. My point is, they are a very carefully put together band that feels like they kind of make up these larger pictures out of a bunch of smaller sounds. And I feel like I've been saying it since the beginning of this LP, but that kind of concept of sprinkling these little moments to make a greater picture feels very rewarding for repeated listenings, or much more focused listenings. Again, it's sort of like this this sort of dystopian holding on to just a semblance of who you once were. Wow. I'm really loving this LP. I kind of went into it with, I would say middling expectations, even though I do really enjoy their last LP. Squid is a band that I feel like is, hard to really digest. But on a first listen so far, this has been very rewarding. Let's go into Cowards. I'm loving this. I'm loving this LP. Here's the here's the title track is what I should say. I really enjoy their slower tracks too, the ones that don't feel like they are as immediate. Certain warmth to this track too, that a lot of these tracks lack. I think it's those horns. A nice warm kind of indie tone to these horns. Kind of remind me of Black Country New Road in a sense. You know, not that they're the only band to ever do it. Also reminds me of, I guess you could say, Neutral Milk Hotel. Honestly, maybe this whole track is kind of ringing of that, considering there's a certain eeriness to it, a heaviness. Getting even more claustrophobic and eerie here. Quite desolate. We put the pellets down and we walk. Really like that one. A very, again, dark, depressive track, it would seem. Nice blend of the warmth of horns with the coldness of maybe like a Radiohead, you know? Great title track. Here's Showtime. Heavy start. I love this drum work on this one. Feels very triumphant. That rising sort of drum. Oh. Oh, hold on. Okay. Like I said, Squid like to play with those little sounds here. They're throwing a lot of little sounds at you. Ramping it up. Coming together. Oh, I love that sound we heard from Crispy Skin there, the weird guitar. Quite swanky. Oh my goodness, that build up. Who is our drummer? Because he's an impeccable drummer, I gotta say. Ollie Judge. Oh my goodness, I didn't even know. Hold on. Can we give this a pause for a second? Our drummer is also the lead vocalist, Ollie Judge. That I didn't know. Wow, that's even more impressive. Holy cow. As somebody who has been a fan of their work, I feel like I should have known that sooner, but Ollie Judge does an incredible job doing the drum work on this track, as well as the lead vocals, as always. You know what? While we're on the topic, I gotta say, okay, Showtime, great track, really showcases the entire band, I would say, but especially Ollie. But, you know, shout out to Louis Barlays, Arthur Ledbetter, Laurie Nancaville, and Anton Pearson, because as you can see, all 5 of these members here of the band, they each share pretty massive duties apiece, you know. So again, very talented individuals that certainly, like I said, they feel like they are all kind of adding a little piece to a larger picture. Here's Well Met, Fingers to the Fence, the final track, 8 minutes. Oh. Oh, I feel like we're in the mines with this one. Bit of a country twang on that guitar. Especially with how distant everything feels. They could do a great country album, to be honest.
Ground is filling up with stones, no more grass between my toes. The list of guests is growing.
Love this continual growth, everything kind of adding on.
Your salty back is shaking.
Oh. Again, like I said earlier, there's like a futuristic overtone to a lot of this, but then we dial it back to kind of feeling a little medieval. Throwing things back. There's warm horns. This one's quite a massive picture. I love how heavy this verse is. Quite cinematic. I'm gathering like a fall of civilization, perhaps, throughout this track. Again, adding to the very dystopian vibe that we've been getting. Even all these vocals, I feel like it's kind of falling apart. Oh. What a massive pounding sound. Great closer. Very climactic. Does feel like quite a finale here. Ugh. Strips it back. And closes it out. Wow. Cowards. Squid. That does it for the listening portion. Let's talk about it. I feel like Squid has certainly given a lot to chew on with this LP. Thematically, it is very dystopian. It is very disturbed, a very cold and kind of calculated listen. Like I said, one thing I've always enjoyed about Squid is these kind of sprinkling of moments throughout their tracks and their entire LPs, where it kind of feels like there's these fleeting kind of moments of genius before we go on to the next kind of fleeting moment of genius. That certainly, to me, add to a much larger picture. You know, it feels like they know exactly what they're doing, but they want to be very kind of careful and particular about how they deliver that kind of vision. And this LP as a whole certainly does feel like one that gets more menacing and overwhelming and dystopian as it goes on. This could be a singular protagonist from Crispy Skin onwards. I'm not too sure. I would have to give it a closer and deeper dive to really fully kind of examine the lyrics and the kind of message being told. But it does seem like it could be quite possible to be one singular being who is kind of maybe experiencing and noticing the downfall of a civilization, maybe the civilization they're in, maybe the world that we live in. But either way, it's getting more dystopian. It's crumbling around him. And he also, in some sense, might be brainwashed by, the powers that be throughout the LP as all the others around him kind of follow suit. A really powerful and heavy listen. Honestly, some great tracks. I do feel like the weakest was probably, for me, Building 650. But Blood on the Boulders onward, to me especially, was fantastic, which is pretty much the entire LP. And Crispy Skin I really enjoyed. I just feel like since I've already listened to it a few times, I already knew what I was getting into. It might not hit as hard as these tracks, but still, the LP as a whole is certainly well worth a listen, especially if you are into the kind of post-punk UK scene right now, and if you are into dystopian kind of LPs that feel kind of Radiohead-esque, because I do feel like that is a strong influence on them. But at the same time, they're kind of paving their own lane. I can't really name any other bands that feel like Squid. I do feel like they take a lot of influences, such as, like I said, Radiohead, maybe Neutral Milk Hotel with those horns, maybe their fellow kind of friends, Black Country New Road and Black Midi from the UK scene. I know they were all kind of part of the windmill scene, but it seems like they take all those influences and ideas and have completely carved out their own specific, unique niche. Now, whether or not you like it really comes down to, I think, how much you enjoy the kind of little moments that feel like they kind of form a larger picture. I, for one, enjoy that. I do feel like you have to be a little bit more invested in the kind of larger idea that they're telling. But it's cold, it's calculated, it's very engaging and interesting if you give it the time to grow on you. So Cowards, great listen. And I gotta say, even on a first listen, I could quite possibly see this being my favorite of their 3 LPs, because I remember O Monolith, even though I did enjoy it quite a bit and it was one of my favorites of 2023, it did make my top 25 after all. But even still, I do feel like they had room for growth, and I do feel like this growth is shown quite well on Cowards. I feel like this direction is certainly more bold, more interesting, and feels much more suited for them than anything they've done before. Honestly, a very impressive listen, and I can't wait to see what Squid does next, because Cowards, like I've been saying throughout this video, a great LP and highly recommended to anyone interested in this kind of idea. But that does it for today's video. If you like the video, please hit like and subscribe to follow along in listening to more LPs as they come throughout the year. We will be covering as many new albums as I can that at least spark my interest and seem like something that might be up my alley, or at least, interesting to the greater masses. And I'm also doing a Bjork and Pink Floyd discography deep dive where I'm going to be reacting to every single one of Bjork's albums as well as every Pink Floyd album, which we already started. So if that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and subscribe and follow along alongside with me. As always, my name is Randy Joe. I appreciate you watching, and I'm signing off.